What's up, guys? It's Dom and RB back here on top of the list for our, I guess you could say, penultimate WandaVision review here. I hope you like that as an English major, Dom. Good word there. WandaVision Episode 8 review, aptly titled Previously On, and before, I guess I was almost about to go into a spoiler there before we got underway, but yeah, so previously
on. You were going to say something about
it. I was, and I had to bite my tongue there.
Okay, good catch, good catch. Yes. RB, quick on his feet there. Good way to start off the episode.
So previously on, this was episode 8 of this 9-episode series, of course. A big cliffhanger, I guess you could call it, after episode 7, where we get the reveal of a new character, Agatha, who's sort of been pulling the strings a bit inside Westview.
I think we should stop there.
Okay.
You know what? Let's just give our score.
Okay, yeah.
Let's just say what we thought generally, and then we'll go right into spoilers.
Okay, sounds good.
Because that's all we could do.
Yeah, it's true. This episode is one chock full of big reveal moments. So yes.
That kind of goes into my general thoughts.
Yes.
This episode serves as the answer to the big questions of this season, right? It's what happened before that was unexplained.
Right.
So that's all I guess I have to say. That's what this episode is about, is what happened before. How did Westview come to be the way it is in WandaVision?
Correct, yeah.
And for this episode, I think I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's a great episode. Does it stand taller than some of these other episodes where we're emulating an era of sitcom? No, I don't think so. I think that if at its best, it's on par with maybe the worst of those. But still, I think we were talking about before, at least in those we had, like a theme song to look forward to and a commercial.
Yeah.
This one was a much more serious take on the events of what's going on. And
no, I think I'm right on course with you there. I'm also feeling an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
This episode definitely. Thank you. This episode definitely one that, as you said, a great episode, well directed, well acted, some really cool visual effects.
Yes.
But that being said, first of all, obviously we have to pull away from the sitcoms a little bit because we're winding down in the show and we need answers. But I did miss that aspect a little bit this week.
Yeah.
So that's number 1. And then number 2, it felt like this episode had its own storyline. And then at the end, they tried to just throw it into what's going on now. And that sort of detracted me a little bit from the episode. I understand it was back cut. It all took place in current time for the most part. And I don't know, without saying too much about the spoilers, this was an 8 out of 10. It was a great episode, but we've seen much better episodes from the folks that have brought us WandaVision so far.
Yeah, this is a tough one to grade because, it's what we've been asking for, answers, but then again, it's kind of a detriment to the show that it's this late on.
I'm going to put it out there by saying this. If this were, they took this idea, this whatever it was, 46-minute episode, and turned it into an hour and 46-minute, 2-hour feature film that was the story of Scarlet Witch, I think it would be a 9 or a 10 out of 10. But because this was an episode in a mini-series, 8 episodes in, I think that detracts from the score.
Okay. I think that's about it for our general thoughts and impressions. 8 out of 10, a great episode, but definitely not to the highest standards of the series so far. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that can be, forgiven with the finale next week.
Yeah, and some big things that we're looking forward to that were set up in this episode. So I think at this point we're going to
say goodbye to all those that are not going to be here for the spoilers.
Spoiler alert there.
Spoiler alert. So let's get started here with right here at the top of this episode. We get to see the origin story of Agatha Harkness.
Agatha Harkness, yes.
And let me just give you my thoughts on this here. I want to know what you think, if you agree with this aspect of me. So far we've had these different settings, right? We've had Westview, which feels so unique, so genuine, something like we've never seen before. Then we have Sword, which feels more similar to what we've seen in, the MCU Shield parts of the MCU, like the Agents of Shield show, or parts of the Captain America stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it feels more like that.
Yeah.
For me, the best thing about this episode is it connects all of that, brings it all together, but it also feels new, and it feels the most like the MCU. This is the highest praise I could give this episode. This feels the most MCU, like we're watching a Marvel Studios production that I have yet seen, mostly because of the top-notch special effects in this episode.
Right. No, I agree with you absolutely, and there is something here that I think we have never seen before in the MCU that's very much touched on this. Most of our superheroes or our supernatural beings, so to speak, in the MCU so far are genetically modified, or are
Iron Man makes his own suit.
Correct.
Captain America gets injected.
Yes.
Spider-Man gets bit by
a radioactive spider. Exactly. This is the first time that we actually get, I would say, more of a glimpse into true magic. I understand we have Doctor Strange.
Yes.
But there's sort of a reasoning. There's the Eye of Agamotto, which is an Infinity Stone.
Yes.
Which sort of is the root of their powers, the time controlling wizards. Or time protecting wizards, I guess.
To an extent, yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I felt
they say that they draw their powers from that, alternate realm that they draw. It kind of looks like you're looking through a glass kaleidoscope.
Right.
It's like the kaleidoscope.
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
And it's like that alternate reality they go into that allows them to draw their magic from. And there's all these ideas that the ancient one is who's Tilda Swinton.
Right. Yeah, she's fantastic in it.
Yeah, and she draws her power from Dormammu, which is his own dimensional being.
Yes.
So there has been magic, but it's like this.
It's magic in sci-fi form.
Yeah.
This was straight up, we're in Salem, Massachusetts, 1695, in a coven of witches doing magic.
Yeah.
And, this is the first time we've seen this in the MCU. Like we said, there's not really a reason for why these people have magic. We don't know if there's maybe an Infinity Stone in Salem that's giving them their powers, or another dimension that they're pulling their powers from. We just know that this is a coven of witches in, Witch Town, USA, Salem. And I don't know if I like that yet or not. I'm really hoping they go more into the origins of magic as a supernatural power.
They have to delve more into magic,
Yes.
and I'll tell you why right now, Ryan Barnett. We're going into Doctor Strange 2 right from the end of this. I'm hoping so much we see Doctor Strange at the end of next week's episode. Just a tie-in, just like, Wanda, I need you to come help me out with this. Boom.
Post-credit scene, maybe?
Team up.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see that. But, word on the street is we also have another emotional scene with between Vision, who we didn't get to see that much of at all this week, except for a few flashbacks. But Vision and some mystery character that we have not yet been leaked or anything like that. So looking forward to see another big turn definitely coming next week, twist and turn coming next week. But so Agatha Harkness, as a whole, what do you think she did in this episode? I think, I'm going to be honest, she did a pretty good job here.
Yeah, I think she does. I mean, she utilizes her powers.
Sometimes it looks funny, now that you say she's using her powers, sometimes it looks funny when she's just standing there like this talking to Wanda and she's doing this, and I'm like, okay, yes, we get it, you're magic.
Right. I hear you, but she utilizes her powers here as a device to tell the story and tell the narrative to the audience.
Which is cool.
Yeah, and the way she does it is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, the effects, the flowing in from one scene of Wanda's life to another and playing in flashbacks and, making Wanda not just view the flashback, but relive it. She steps into her apartment as a child in Sokovia and transforms back into that child, growing up with Pietro and her parents. It's really, really something that was well done, both visually pleasing and, a great way to tell the story, the backstory of the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff.
It's the closest that this show has felt to being an MCU movie.
Yes,
honestly.
without a doubt, which is, like I said, I think it detracts from the score that this came out of WandaVision, which has been a show that's been, a little lighthearted. It's got its serious moments, but for the most part has been focused on I don't want to call it a gimmick, but that's what it is, the sitcom gimmick.
Yeah, that's the show's unique feature that everyone has been attracted to. Now that it's gone, there's something missing, and that's why we're giving it an 8.
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't say it better myself.
I think, what I said and what you said is Ryan's been saying this since episode 1. He wanted this to be an MCU movie,
yes.
Right? I said, yeah, for sure. When I first watched WandaVision, I said, this is more of a sitcom than anything else. This is the first episode where it really felt like we're watching a movie quality in terms of quality and storytelling. Yes. And that's what I really can give the highest marks here.
Yeah.
Catherine Hahn is great in this episode as, Agatha.
Right.
And there's a lot of great bits for her in here. But for me, the best part of this episode is the performance by Wanda.
Without a doubt.
And I think this has to partially go to the younger actress that played her.
Yes.
Did a really great job in that scene that we get to see that first flashback. I thought that was probably one of the most heartbreaking scenes of the entire show. Really great stuff there. A few moments in this episode where I was kind of mustering up some tears. It's pretty emotional.
Oh, without a doubt. Yes.
It's really great, and it's very surprising when the bomb does drop on her parents. There in the,
you do not see, because we hear that in the previously, this is previously on, but obviously in the previously on WandaVision, the start of the episode, we see that, they remind us that Wanda Maximoff and Pietro Maximoff's parents were killed in an airstrike.
We hadn't seen it, but we had been told it when Ultron asked them, right? He says, well, please tell me, I wondered how you guys survived Strucker's experiments. And they say, no, it's because we were, strapped for 2 days with this Stark missile, waiting for Tony Stark to kill us. And then that's the famous line that they say. But the whole backstory was really emotional, really paid off well. And I think that the best part about this whole backstory was getting to tie it back into why are we watching a sitcom? Yeah. Which really hit me like a truck.
That was the big emotional pull, whether it was, there wasn't the sitcom gimmick in this episode, and yet there was, because in every flashback sequence with Wanda, she's watching a different sitcom, whether it's with her parents watching the Dick Van Dyke Show, whether it's, sitting in her cell after, not her cell, but I guess whatever you want to call it, after the Strucker experiments, after she, captures the power of the essence of the Mind Stone, or even when she's, bonding with Vision for the first time at the new Avengers compound. It's all about her time spent with sitcom, which lets us, see why she has created in this world that she is living a sitcom.
And I think it's beautifully done. It's so beautiful the way they incorporated it. I had a feeling they were going to do this right from the get-go. And as soon as the dad opened the box and I saw I Love Lucy and, Leave It to Beaver, Malcolm in the Middle sitting in that box, I was like, okay, yes, they're going to go for it right here. And it hit home, and it did very, very good. And like you said, the kind of connecting point for Wanda and Vision there was them sitting together and talking while watching this sitcom.
Correct.
And that's how they kind of started to fall in love, which I thought was really beautiful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's been a question for us, I think, this whole series is, how is Wanda Maximoff, who grew up, she's young, so probably not even in the era of I Love Lucy or Leave It to Beaver or Bewitched, who grew up in Sokovia, which we're assuming is, pre-Cold War, communist USSR. How does she have even a knowledge of these sitcoms to create this? And now we see how.
It's just what she had.
It started with a connection with her family. They had TV night and they spoke English, because they weren't happy in Sokovia, they wanted to be Western, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was great.
Very much an emotional pull.
Yeah, and Wanda's performance in this is, or Elizabeth Olsen's performance in this is so phenomenal. She really does well in the emotional sequences. But I think we need to talk about something that we have been anticipating the entire season. We got a hint of it, but I'm not sure if it panned out. I don't know if you were able to do some more thinking about it or not. Did we get an answer to why we're getting these commercials?
And for the viewers at home, you and I looked at each other when we started watching this episode. We start off with the first flashback. It's the Stark missile.
Yes.
So we're thinking, okay, Stark Industries toaster. Then the second flashback, we see the Strucker experiment. Well, Strucker watch.
Strucker watch, yes.
Then we get to the next flashback is the Vision at the compound.
Right.
What?
I thought it was maybe the cleaning up the spill with the paper towels.
That could have been
But
it.
that has nothing to do with that.
No, see, and to me, almost the cleaning up the paper towel was the second scene. But what was the survivor yogurt?
But we're also missing one too. How about Hydra soap? Hydra soap.
Yeah, but where would that have?
The only thing I can think of is like she's talking about how she feels so sad about her brother, and it's like a wave washing over her. But like it's like that has no. Like,
see, I almost am thinking back to when they're at Hydra and they're watching the footage of her pulling out the. Maybe we're reading too far. Pulling out the Mind Stone, and then on the video it's like we don't see it, so maybe it's like the soap clean. I don't know. Yeah.
I have no idea. And I think they had a potential to really just take us, if they had done that, where each commercial was connected to one of these memories she had tucked away.
I was hoping, yeah.
Oh my God, that would have been like, it would have made this episode a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It would have been so, the connective tissue there would have been so great, but it didn't happen. And at least as to our knowledge, it didn't happen. Maybe, someone else will find some clues out there and they'll make a YouTube video about it and we'll go and watch it.
Yeah, but we are stumped at this point, at least if those commercials are anything more than paying homage to the commercials of the day, which they did a spot on job of, very, especially when we got to the 90s commercials, and very nostalgic for us, the commercials that came on Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah. So I think with that said, we need to talk about, we talked about the no sitcom, no direct sitcom of WandaVision. This we heard it. Some other negatives I think we should talk about. The absence of Monica Rambeau.
Yes.
The absence of Pietro. We got that cliffhanger last week with those two characters. Was not resolved this week.
Not at all. And, the more and more we talk about Doctor Strange and, this leading right up to Doctor Strange, the more and more I'm thinking maybe we won't. Maybe that storyline will not get picked up until Doctor Strange. I think if they wanted to pick up on it, they would have dove right into it this episode. But we've got so much going on that needs to be resolved in episode 9. I don't think that, that Monica Rambeau and Pietro, she called it, fake Pietro, are going to feed into it. That being said, I was also kind of bummed out that she made it clear that he was fake, because I was really hoping for the theory that you called, that he was Pietro from another universe.
I did not touch on my other thing that adds to my theory of, we're getting mutants here. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Wanda, born with powers.
Yes.
Is it because of, we're just going to say she's a witch, she was born a witch, she had magical abilities?
Right, maybe.
Or is that tied into mutant powers as well?
Maybe that magic, mutants, it's a new word. We're talking about even Agatha Harkness, that this magic and people born with powers have been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years. So you're absolutely right. Maybe that's the introduction to mutants, that it's an evolution of magic.
Is Wanda our first mutant? Maybe not, but we also get this kind of, I do want to make an X-Men comparison.
Yes.
In this episode, we see this kind of alternate reality of what actually happened to Wanda, how her powers were enhanced by the Infinity Stone, the Mind Stone. And it's this, she has like this strange vision where the blue stone comes out, explodes, we have the yellow Mind Stone,
right.
And then she has this vision of, the Scarlet Witch costume, this woman figure, it's Scarlet Witch.
Right, yeah, of course.
And she sees it in her eyes, and her eyes flash yellow. And so this comparison kind of reminded me of Dark Phoenix, which is this like inner personality that Jean Grey has in the X-Men universe. That kind of feels like what this is to me, that maybe this is this extra dimensional power that she has within her, the power of Scarlet Witch, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, it's obviously mine. Yours is from more comic books and even the X-Men films. Mine is more, from just mainstream media, but almost a Shazam-esque. It sounds like you're saying, it's not that she is the Scarlet Witch, it's that she has the Scarlet Witch inside of her, so to speak.
Yeah, like the powers. Okay. Absolutely. So I think that's what might be going on here, but we'll have to wait and see next week.
Yeah.
Another big keyword this week was, we talked about chaos magic, and that's what they say here at the end when Agatha Harkness has Wanda's children
Yeah,
tied up.
quite literally has a noose around their neck, and you can see they're trying to stay on their feet, but as soon as she pulls, that's going to start suffocating them, if not snap their neck. A very dark scene.
Yeah.
What do you think here? And you're the expert, so I definitely want to hear your opinion on it, because this is what I'm not getting yet.
Yeah.
What is Agatha's game? I get it. Just seems disjointed. We get the Agatha Harkness backstory with her mother and the coven, sort of shunning her, and I mean, from what it looks like, either trying to take her powers or trying to kill her, destroy her, whatever word you want to use, and then she turns it back on them and becomes more powerful, seemingly taking their powers and killing her coven in the process.
Yeah.
And then we see her whole game in this episode is trying to figure out the root of Wanda's powers. Now, in my head, once she figured it out, her game was to try and work with Wanda to become more powerful. But now I don't understand. She goes and she has the children wrapped up. What is her game here? What is Agnes's end game? It is so over my head right now.
Me too. And I totally agree, which is another kind of negative of this part, is that why? Yeah. I think they should have done 8 and 9 back to back. Why not just be one big episode? That would be awesome. Yeah. But anyways, so they did kind of leave us in the dark on that, as well as the Pietro and Monica Rambeau storyline also left us in the dark. Right. Now, I think we have one major thing to talk about left, unless there's anything, well, actually 2 major things.
Okay, I think we're on the same page. I want to start with the big flashback reveal of what happened at Sword.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that first, and then I think the second thing we're going to talk about is the post-credit scene.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about the Sword scene first. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just going to preface this. Of course, we saw the video footage that was given by the director of Sword to brief the rest of the Sword team out at the Hex border. Yeah. That is... it's cut, we can't see, but it's just a vision of an angry Wanda Maximoff storming into Sword and him saying she walked in and left, Vision's tomb. Not tomb, but, where they're keeping Vision's body. Yeah. And I believe he said she stole the body, correct?
He said she stole Vision's body and took it here, or brought it here, or left with it and disappeared with it.
And then we get a little bit more of a
that's not true.
Right, correct. And that's what I was going to say. We have a little bit more of a red flag pop up when we have Agent Wu, once again, not in this episode. Yeah. Love Agent Wu. Yeah. But we have him saying, well, look, the director of Sword has a tracker on the Vision in the Hex. He's been tracking him all along. Yeah. And I think that plays in nicely to the post-credit scene, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. But so now we get to see what actually happened when Wanda goes to Sword.
So it turns out she just went there peacefully to go and get her husband's body or her lover's body, so that she could bury him. She just wanted to bury him. She speaks with the director, of course, and shows her that they are dismantling Vision because he is too dangerous. He's a sentient weapon that's too dangerous to be kept, I guess, existing.
Right. And,
so
if I recall correctly, those were his wishes.
Yeah.
So it's a heartbreaking sequence. He says, "Let me show you." She looks down, she sees him in pieces.
And the other thing is this is where we get our doctored footage from. Is the guy at first says, "Oh, let me buzz you."
Yeah, she goes,
says, "No, I got it." Boom.
Yep.
Blasts the door open. There's
the footage of an angry Wanda. Yeah.
She breaks the glass. Boom, breaks the glass. And then all those guns are pointed at her. Okay, there's where they got their footage.
Exactly.
And then probably the most the saddest part of this episode was when she tries to touches Vision's forehead and she's like, I can't feel it. And that was so sad because that's what happened in Infinity War when what they were saying. And that was such a beautiful moment in Infinity War, kind of bookending the movie with, when we first see Wanda and Vision. And she says, I can only feel you. When
he says that.
No, she says it first to him when he says, oh, tell me what you see when you touch the stone.
That's right.
He says, I only feel you. And then when she's trying to kill him at the end, he says, you can't hurt me.
Yes,
I only feel you.
Yes.
And it's so sad.
Absolutely. A heartbreaking sequence, and even more so, she sees the body. She realizes, I think, at the time, the director, what he says makes a lot of sense. You can't just, we're not going to give you $3 million worth of vibranium to put in the ground. Fine, that makes sense. And she understands that. She walks away, and then we get the even more heartbreaking scene where she drives to Western New Jersey. She has a map. or a deed to land that's from Vision that says to grow old in with a heart around it, V.
And now that I think about it, I think her plan was to get Vision's body and then bury it in that plot of land.
That would make sense.
I think that's why she had that in her car when she was leaving.
Right, and remember, the blip is, the blip has erased Wanda, and she's back after 5 years. So, this was probably a deed of land purchased by Vision pre any of the events of Infinity War, pre-blip.
Which is kind of weird because in Infinity War, we see them that they're in like London.
Correct, yes. They're in London and they're sort of on, they're hiding. I mean, obviously it's post-Sokovia Accords and, the split at Civil War.
Right.
But yeah, Wanda and Vision are sort of in hiding in London before they're found by Thanos' minions.
Yes.
Yeah, children of Thanos.
But I think, Vision was asking, say, what if we were to, stay together, and not go? And I think that's why maybe he was going to give her the deed to the land.
Yeah.
So that's that. Last thing we got to talk about, post-credit scene, thoughts.
Well, like I said, I think the post-credit scene is what made me think that, we have so much going on that we may not get to touch on the Monica Rambeau, Quicksilver, or I guess Pietro Maximoff.
So the big twist and turn of this episode was Vision is white.
I'm just going to finish this one. Not the big twist and turn.
Vision is white, man. That's the turn.
Okay.
We have a white Vision, and he's white.
Okay.
That's the twist.
I guess that's the twist. Okay.
Vision's white.
That was over my head. Whatever you say.
You didn't see that part where he's white?
I mean, he's Paul Bettany.
No, he's like literally white.
I guess not. I mean, I thought.
No, he's literally the color white.
Is he?
Yes.
I thought he was like pale blue.
No, he was like literally the color white.
Okay. Well,
you didn't see the post-credit scene?
I did see the post-credit scene. I guess that wasn't what I was focusing on. I'm sorry I didn't focus on that. I was focusing on the fact that Vision is alive. The actual Vision, not the one that was created by Wanda. This is actually Vision that our evil, sword guy is brought back to life, but I guess you're focusing on the color.
No, he's white, and it's because they recreated Vision, right?
Well,
they rebuilt him. They didn't have the material that we know to sew the missile.
Yeah, we've taken him apart and put him back together so many times, and all we needed was a little bit of what they say, energy from the source.
Right, from the source, right.
Right, and they used the missile that Wanda threw back out of the hex. Or drone, whatever.
No Infinity Stone scene in this Vision.
Well, something lit on his forehead.
We'll see. Was that Vision? We have so many questions.
Yes.
Was that Vision's body, or did they build another Vision? I don't know, but I was reading something this morning that says there's the reason why I say white Vision. There's a version of Vision that's white in the comics, and he's the one that gets reset after. That one Vision gets destroyed, and then Wanda has to fall back in love with him again because he's, his memory's been erased and everything. I don't think we're going for that here. It looks like we're going to have Vision versus Vision battle.
Well, where is Vision? Where is the Wanda Maximoff created Vision? And jumping back to that, we didn't talk about that scene. That's the last scene I want to talk about. The scene where Wanda creates Vision and Westview as we know it, creates it in the original, as we started 1950s I Love Lucy.
The special effects, what she kind of breaks down and then unleashes all her magic. Really cool.
Yeah.
But the best imagery I've seen in this show to date, maybe aside from some of the sitcom stuff, which has been really great, is Wanda kind of giving birth to this Vision, and it's kind of beautiful. It's almost like from the Bible or something, because Vision is kind of born from her heart. It's so cool.
And I think that is going to play into the scene we saw with her at Hydra's facility when she was being experimented on, because we see her have the, sort of the Infinity Stone, the Mind Stone come into her, so to speak, and now she's creating basically the life that was created by the Vision Stone that brought Vision to life in Age of Ultron. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's why she was able to recreate Vision. And, we have that great sequence where he's born, and what's the first thing he says to her? He's just kind of looking at her and he says, Wanda. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's all we get.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything else we can touch on here? I mean, this post-credit scene leaves a lot of open
Well,
doors.
we've got a lot of things. We've got.
It's got to be an hour-long episode.
Yeah,
It's got to be such a long episode.
Let's just figure out where we're left off here for our finale.
Okay, let's see.
Wanda right now is sort of at the mercy of Agatha, correct?
Correct.
While her children are
being held by
Agatha. That's where we left off with those two. We don't know right now what Agatha's endgame is. We know that she's a villain.
Right.
We know that she
wants the power that Wanda
does she want the power? Is she threatened by the power and wants to just destroy it? I can't tell.
Yeah.
So that's what. Did she want to take the power like she did from her coven? I mean, that's probably most likely is that she wants to harness Wanda's powers, but she needs to know how to use it, which is why she went through all of Wanda's, backstories to understand her powers. So there's that. We have Vision. Let's call
MIA.
Yeah, Vision, who was created by Wanda. MIA.
Darcy, he was with Darcy.
When he was with Darcy, correct.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, we also have everyone who was taken into the hex by Sword, just chilling there.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't touch on anyone else in the hex this week. We also have this new Vision that's been created by Sword, the few members that are outside of the hex still set up there.
Yeah.
And then we have Monica Rambeau and Quicksilver, Pietro, somewhere also down in the basement. We got a lot going on. Yeah. And then we've got Dominic thinking Doctor Strange is going to show up.
And then we got another mystery character that might show up, or we'll see. We'll see.
And of course, our favorite character, Agent Wu, also not around.
More characters are going to be coming in, and
we only have one episode left, so buckle up.
Let's see. There's two ways this can go. They could give us a big, gigantic, story-filled episode that's going to really satisfy us and we're going to be happy. Or it could be overstuffed and we're going to be confused.
Or they could go another episode and just leave us hanging for Doctor Strange.
Gigantic cliffhanger?
Yeah. Which is what I'm expecting and what I am most afraid of.
Okay.
Because that's gonna hurt. As fantastic as an episode it may, and it probably will be. If we get a cliffhanger like that, I'm gonna be so furious after this episode.
Having to wait for Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think we should leave it on that note. That's exactly right. So
8 out of 10 overall.
8 out of 10 overall for this one. A great episode. But not the best we've seen so far. Hopefully next week will be. Yeah. We'll see. Fingers crossed for that. Of course, catch us next week for our finale review. Also, we're going to be dropping American Psycho review onto the channel. Go and check that one out. I was a little late on that one, didn't upload it, but I'll upload it and that'll be up with this episode as well. So you guys can go right after this episode and check that out as well. We also got a few other movie reviews. Can you think of any of those?
Bad Education coming your way. We're going to do a review of all three of the revamp of Planet of the Apes, those being Dawn, Rise, and War for the Planet of the Apes. Let's see, what else? Ford versus Ferrari as well. I guess we're sticking on the Christian Bale train there, going American Psycho to Ford versus Ferrari, one of his first great roles to one of his more recent great roles.
Yes.
I'm sure I'm missing other stuff, but it'll be coming your way. Great content coming from us at the top of the list.
Yep, absolutely. So if you guys want to give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter, please do. That's down in the description below. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below. What do you guys think of this week's episode? Any predictions for what could happen in the finale? Let us know down below in the comments. How about for our audio listeners, right?
Yeah, be sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. And thanks for listening. We love the audience, and be sure, like Dominic said, find us on social media and leave us a message. Let us know what you want us to review next.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys on our next episode of Top of the List.
Later.